welcome to the Inner Edison Podcast, the podcast where we celebrate the mindset that every setback is just a setup for something greater. I'm your host, Ed Parcaut, and on today's show, we explore how today's leaders and innovators turn their failures into stepping stones towards success. Today's guest is someone who's been right at the intersection of leadership, technology, and transformation. Mike Peterson is the author of Leading in the Age of Digital Disruption, founder of Apex Consulting Partners. With nearly 2 decades of global experience in HR and IT leadership, Mike has helped organizations navigate everything from hybrid work chaos to digital-first innovation. If you're a leader feeling the pressure of constant change or just wondering how to build a team that thrives in uncertainty, this episode is for you. Let's dive into the power of trust, resilience, and redefining leadership in the digital age. Mike Peterson, thank you so much for coming on the Inner Edison Podcast today. I really appreciate you being here today.
Thanks so much for having me, Ed. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. All right, let's get right into it. So the helping the brave, I'm one of those days, I'm telling you, Inner Edison Podcast. I do too many podcasts. I finally got him organized and somebody handling so much stuff, and you would think it'd be easier for me, but it seems like it's harder because you got to get everybody to get in place and doing everything. Our greatest accomplishments come from our greatest defeats. And that's what this show is really about, to tell people when you're in business, things are going to come up. It's not, how you handle it and overcome it is going to make the difference in your life. So Mike, have you always been an entrepreneur? Because you have Apex Consulting Partners. I assume that is your own business.
It is. Yeah. I have not been an entrepreneur. I'm a fairly recent entrepreneur. Although early in my childhood, my dad had his own business. So I've seen it done before. But I kind of grew up in government / corporate America. I started my career as a wildland firefighter. So very much run like a government agency through the National Forest Service, and decided to go into corporate America and ended up in human resources. Working for a really great pharmaceutical company, BioMarin, and was there kind of in the right time in the right place. The company was 600 employees, growing to 3,000, and in that process had an opportunity to experience a bunch of different roles as the human resources department grew, and through that time, really thought that I was going to be in corporate human resources for the rest of my career. I absolutely loved it. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of work and a lot of long hours. After leaving BioMarin after 8 years, I joined a smaller pharmaceutical company, helped them grow from 100 to 500 employees as the head of HR and IT, and then did that one more time at another smaller company, also in the pharmaceutical industry. And I had a freak heart attack. It was caused by eating a bad chicken sandwich from Costco. I got salmonella, and the salmonella impacted my heart. My heart got so swollen it stopped being able to effectively pump blood. And so it wasn't through a blockage or high cholesterol or whatever other heart attacks are caused by. And that really just caused me to take a step back and think about, what do I want to do with my life? At the time, I was working in Central Time. I was working a lot with Europe early in the mornings, and I was working with China late at night. So I was having meetings, 20 hours a day, working all hours of the night. And I really enjoyed my my job and the value that I got out of helping these companies be successful, but decided to really prioritize the life and work-life balance. Life is very short, and through a little bit of naivete, I thought that starting my own business would be a little bit less stressful. And it's very different type of stress, but I wanted to focus on what I do, which is what I love to do, which is help companies grow. And I love doing that, but as an internal employee, you take on a lot of stress around different aspects of the company and how they operate, and different internal issues that come up with employees fighting, and so I do the kind of the pieces of HR that I really like, and also mix in pieces of process and technology, because I really think that for companies to be successful in this day and age, they need to be thinking about these three things in everything they do: people, process, and technology, to really help companies grow. And so that was the kind of the business model I came up with when deciding to go out on my own and consult.
So when you consult, do you guys oversee the HR, or are you just helping them get the HR better and the IT? I'm trying to understand exactly what you do.
Yeah, it depends on the client. We certainly have done kind of outsourced HR for really small companies. We've done specific projects like helping to implement a performance management process, or implement an HR piece of technology, or implement a collaboration suite, implement Microsoft 365 or Zoom throughout an organization. So we've done a little bit of everything, but we try to really focus holistically on leadership, not just by itself, right? There are aspects of leadership that are important to really apply towards how you run your company on the ground floor, as well as kind of what you say as leaders.
The reason, because everybody, you need to know who your perfect client is. So the question is, who's your perfect client? Who are you looking for? Just so people understand that you.
Really, I love working with smaller companies. So whether you're 5 employees or 200 employees looking to grow, companies oftentimes stumble upon some kind of success, and then in a blink of an eye, they need to really grow the company rapidly. And so if that's your situation, where you're not able to keep up with the demand and you're trying to grow the company as quickly as possible, we can really help you think about how to evolve your organization to be able to catch that success and deliver on that success.
Now, is there HR outsourcing stuff for a lot of companies now, or are they doing it all internally still?
There's quite a bit of HR outsourcing. Yeah, I think for companies that are under 50 employees, it might not make financial sense to hire in a full-time employee to do HR, for a full-time employee to do payroll and benefits and leave of absences. And so for those smaller companies, it can absolutely make sense to bring in an expert who can help part-time on different aspects, rather than having that person sit there full-time and not be busy 40 hours a week.
Right. And it's better to have somebody outside anyway, so that one employee doesn't know what everybody else is making and everything else. Because it's always fun when you have one person, hey, could you take over payroll? And then now they know everything.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it can be really helpful to have that outside perspective. HR departments, when they're internally, they have their own bias, their own sides. They make friends with different people, and it can be challenging to make those unbiased decisions that are best for the company.
Now, do you guys do that, or you just find people for that?
We do that ourselves. Yeah. We're not a recruiting firm, so we don't do kind of headhunting. We just have a very small, tight-knit group of people that work for Apex.
So if you needed payroll, HR, you guys step in to do that for a company? Yep. Okay, that's definitely what I'm trying to get. So you're 0 to 50 who doesn't have HR, who you guys can step in as HR, because I've heard of different companies in the last few years, like was it Bumblebee or something like that? That was one of those HR companies that, yeah. Mm-hmm. And and I feel the problem with a lot of those is like, hey, sign up for this amount a month, and we'll do this for you. We'll do your employees, all these different things, and all the manuals you need. Oh, but we don't. That takes 6 months to do those manuals. Okay, well then why don't you just do a one-time fee, and then that way everything's set up and right, instead of having to be with you for 6 months to do that.
Yeah, it can be difficult to find the right blend, and what we really like to do is just customize what we do for the client. Sometimes they need you on the ground immediately to resolve some kind of emergency. Sometimes it's preparing for next year, where you can take 6 months, but oftentimes people need help yesterday. So we're playing a little bit of catch up.
Well, I mean, I think the couple of the biggest things, HR, payroll, bookkeeping, and a CPA are the four things that I think most companies have the hardest time with.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest headache besides HR and payroll is the bookkeeper for a company, because even myself, I had a perfect lady, but 1 year she just didn't do what she said she was going to do and just messed me up for the next 2 years to get it fixed. And it's a nightmare. So you really got to make sure that stuff's in place. And it wasn't like I didn't try to do it. It was just, checks and balances. So now my CPA is my bookkeeper also in the same, so I never have to worry about it.
Yeah, and we don't do bookkeeping ourselves, but we do help the people think through processes, implement accounting technology to really build those checks and balances and make sure there's not opportunity for fraud and you're involving the right people for approvals, et cetera, in a way that is efficient for the company rather than creating process just for process sake.
No, it's important. And I don't think people, business owners who are entrepreneurs, they're really good at the business and what they're trying to do. The other personnel stuff is not something they're good at, and they need to get help as soon as possible.
Yeah, exactly. We see this all the time where, leaders of companies have this very specific passion and skill set, technical skill set in developing a product or starting a business, but they don't necessarily have those skills in leading this group of people that have now joined the company. And we love helping those leaders really grow into great leaders and help companies grow from 50 to 200 plus employees.
When do you know you need to get the HR person in? I know you said from 0 to 50, but at what point would you say is the best time to get somebody in before,
I think that's such a great question. And I don't think I've ever been asked that question exactly that way, but I would say, there's a point in where shifting from a startup company to more of a kind of mid-sized company, the focus shifts more about the product and everything is all hands on deck getting this product up and running, to now we have critical mass. We have enough people in the company where the focus is now also making sure the people in the company run effectively. And that is that switch from that typically happens between 5 and 25 to 50 employees.
Yeah, I think people need to know that, because like you said, sometimes you're doing good and then all of a sudden, boom, you start growing, and then you have no time to do what you should have done already. Yeah. So what I'm really looking at, okay, as I'm thinking I'm going to start growing, at what point should I start bringing in the HR person to make sure that they're there for when we're ready? Have you guys ever did preemptive, like, let's just talk and then, okay, you're not ready for us yet, we will come in when you hit this point?
Yeah, we love talking with people. We can definitely do those kind of free assessments and help leaders understand where they are and where they're going. It's always great if we can be proactive and build the foundation and grow into it. But I also know that that's not always possible from a financial perspective for small companies. And so it's very reactive, where they've realized, okay, well, we're already 50 employees, or maybe we're even 75. But all of these people issues are starting to come up. There's, it's disorganized. We don't have any formal processes around how we manage our people or how we train our managers, and it's starting to feel chaotic, and we need to build some order in that chaos. People can call us anytime to have those conversations.
Speaking of chaos and people all over, during the pandemic, everybody went home, and then a lot of companies have brought them back. Have you seen that yourself? A lot more companies have brought people back.
Yeah, I have, and it's a trend I don't necessarily think is best for companies in all circumstances, but I have noticed a lot of companies, the vast majority of companies, are doing this push for employees to come back into the office. And in a lot of with a lot of companies I'm talking to or clients I'm talking to. They say, I want you to lead the charge of having, help us figure out how to bring employees back to the office. And there's such an advantage to be able to access remote talent, right? The best talent might not always be in your city, might not always be willing to make that commute 5 days a week. But managing a remote team is harder than managing a team in person, right? It's easier to kind of be checked out as a manager and just pop your head over a cubicle and say, what are you working on today? How's it going? And like, okay, well, I saw on their screen they were playing, they were playing games or watching YouTube videos, so I know they're not working.
Or updating the resume.
Updating the resume, exactly. But if you manage people intentionally and set up the right processes to make sure your team knows what they're responsible for, knows what they're accountable for, when you're going to have check-ins, what's the impact these deliverables are going to have on the company, you can lead a very, very successful team remotely. So it kind of saddens me to see the trend going backwards, but it's not uncommon.
Yeah, I get the whole remote, where people, and because for me, I went with a lot of virtual assistants with what I do, because I'm in California, and the employee thing here is just a little crazy. You're employee first, no matter what. Even if you're contract, you're still an employee first.
Yeah.
And so that's why I try to explain to people, I can't hire contract people in California. I have to go out of state for it. And it's pretty sad, but that's just the way it is. Talk to your governor. Or he's not my governor. I didn't vote for him, nor will I ever. We won't get into the whole, it's just, he screwed up California. But anyway, back to the whole statement of, so how do, one of the reasons is tax reasons for my, in my state is a little different than other states, but it's just easier if I use virtual assistants or somebody that's in a different state or a different country. It doesn't matter. I don't have to worry about the pay the way that normally I would worry about their pay. Don't get me wrong, I've had employees forever, but just recently with the change in my industry, I own a mortgage company. So our W-2'd loan officers aren't W-2'd anymore. They all have corporations because they were smart, because then they don't, because that way prior to this, they were 1099, but now they're they had to go W-2 over the past 10 years. So they were like, but I don't want to, I want to have my own company and run this and do this. So that's how they all have corporations. So I can get away with that. But when you get to your staff, it's a totally different thing. And most of us use contract processors, contract this, just because when, I had them on staff forever, but then you have a drop like we did for the last 2 years, it gets expensive and you can't do that forever. But as a contract, it's much easier.
Yeah. You're right. It's definitely a tax reason, right? California wants its payroll tax. And as a 1099, there's a lot of tax loopholes you could take advantage of that you can't take advantage of as a W-2. And so a lot of people with those 1099s are moving out of California so that they can keep their businesses and contract with other companies. So there is a challenge for talent, and challenging for most companies to afford hiring W-2 employees, needing to provide them benefits and Social Security contributions, et cetera.
And a lot of companies, like I was helping a client recently, and she was let go from one company and got picked up by another company, but they were in Canada, and they're like, we don't pay anybody W-2 in the States. You're all 1090, you're all contract. And she didn't understand the difference. She thought she was still an employee. I had explained to her, no, you went from an employee who is an actual employee to somebody who actually is running the business. And please don't take this wrong, but you're the landscape person at the company now that comes there and cleans up the place. You are contracted for that company. And it took explaining it in a couple of different ways for her to understand that where we in our industry looks at it totally different. You have to be in business for 2 years now as a contractor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I personally have, I'm all over the place. My company's all over the place. I used to be based in California and now live in Bentonville, Arkansas.
Where you understand my pain.
Yeah, where the headquarters of Walmart is. And I have 2 employees still in California. And I have a number of employees in India as well. And so we're very geographically diverse.
How is it for you in Arkansas paying people in California?
That is has been fine. We have a few different arrangements. So we do have some W-2 people because the work that they do needs to be W-2 in California. But it's we handle it kind of on an hourly basis. So it's a little bit like a blend of 1099 and W-2. So we don't have any salaried employees in California.
No, I'm just wondering because everybody, it's a little different. But I'm just saying for us, you'd have to be an employee if I hired you for anything in California, even if it was hourly. Right. Yeah. And people are like shocked from other states how it is here. And it's like, and how I dealt with things here in California, it's how I've always dealt with it in the last 30 years of being in business. It was, everybody complains about how expensive taxes are and everything else in California. But I'm like, yeah, but it's called the sunshine tax. And the fact that I don't have tornadoes or hurricanes and other things that I have to worry about or bug. I don't have to have a screened-in porch to get off we don't have the humidity like other places do.
Yeah. Our house did get hit by a tornado.
I'm sorry.
A little over a year ago. So that is the risk of of being in Tornado Alley.
And then people, it's like there's something no matter where you go.
Earthquakes in California and wildfires.
Yeah, there are, but those are like the earthquakes don't happen in certain areas. They only happen in certain areas where those fault. Yeah. Where if you're in San Diego, you don't have to worry about it. If you're in LA, you're gonna have to worry about it because Northridge area, and then same with San Francisco. But we haven't had one in a while, and the way they build all the places now, they move with the earthquake because they're on rollers, most of the big buildings and everything else.
Yeah,
which is pretty unique that they can do that.
Yeah.
All right, but we're not here to talk about California and the earth. But so from doing this, you did mention in the beginning that you wrote a book. And what was the name of the book? I had it here.
Leading in the Age of Digital Disruption.
So why did you write a book? Did you always want to write a book?
Surprisingly, no. I never really thought about writing a book until I started putting together the business model for the consulting company. So, I wanted to think through when I was starting the company, take this really seriously, think about a value proposition. What value are we adding to companies? How are we going to do it? What's the business model? What's the formula for success that we can apply to any company, no matter what industry they're in or how big they are, and wanted to formalize that. And as I was coming up with this business model, I just had kind of this aha moment where I said, I think I have something unique here. I think I have something that hasn't really been done before in this formula. Obviously, there's thousands of leadership books out there, and more coming out every day. But this is really about how to apply traditional leadership competencies in this modern age of technology and AI. And so I decided to. It was actually kind of perfect timing. I was working with a few different clients, and that work wrapped up all around the same time. And rather than going out and prospecting more clients right away, I said, I think I'm going to protect this time and really see if this book idea is worth it. And it became a 9-month project of working full time, writing this book that has what I think is the winning formula behind leadership in today's day and age. And it was a tremendous learning opportunity, figuring out how to publish it, how to distribute it, how to print it, getting it illustrated, hiring cover designers, all of those things. But it was such an incredibly fun project, and finally got it published in April, so about 5 months ago.
And I assume you self-published.
Yes, I did end up self-publishing, and the main reason for that was going through an agent and finding a traditional publisher, oftentimes that can take 2 or more years. And I really wanted this book to be kind of a calling card. So the book can help sell the business, and the business can help sell the book. This is kind of the roadmap of what we believe at the company, and it's something I can give to clients and feel very proud about. It can certainly help increase credibility of the company that we have a published piece out. And I just wasn't willing to wait 2 years to get it out to the world. And who knows what's going to happen 2 years from now anyways with AI, right?
Well, not only that, once you go through a traditional publisher, you don't own it anymore. It's theirs. Right. Yeah, and that's why for most people, you don't want to go there. My book's back there up over, is on my left shoulder, is my book. And same thing, self-published, because I wanted to be able to cut up into a course, do other things with it. And that's why, and now you give it to all my clients to help them understand the process of what they're going to go through. And that's why I did the book. And so it just depends on why you're doing it, which is the best way. Now, a lot of people self-publish, and eventually then they have a book that they get published, and then they're okay with it. But it just depends on what you're looking to do with your books. So
there's ideas for a few more books in my head. We'll see. I'm not in any hurry to get them out yet, so we'll see how the next books go. But so far, I've really enjoyed the way the process has gone with my self-published book.
Yeah, it's and if you do it right, because I assume you did it through Amazon.
Yeah, the paperback, ebook, and audiobook will be through Amazon, and then the hardcover is through Ingram Spark.
Right. And now through Ingram Spark, you can set that up on your website. You know that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Because when I first published my book, that's almost 3 years ago, you couldn't do that. So now you can publish. So, and the other day I started getting these checks going, what the heck? I actually get more money now.
Yeah, there you go.
You get more of it when it's through your website, through Ingram Spark, than it does when you go through Amazon.
Yeah,
Same price, same everything, but you get more of it. So yeah. All right. Anything else I should have asked you for today, Mike, that I didn't ask you?
Well, I think there's a big, an interesting topic of technology out there that everyone's talking about. I don't know if you want to delve into the world of AI and jobs and entrepreneurship, but happy to go there if you'd like.
Well, I mean, I use AI all the time, and I think AI is not going to replace everybody. It's going to replace people who don't use AI. But there are some jobs that will be replaced, and some of them been already. But going forward, I look at it this way. I look at it like the internet. That was supposed to get rid of so many businesses and so many things. And I think it's just going to enhance everything. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, I have a fairly similar take. I know there's obviously jobs that are going to be impacted more than others, right? There are some jobs that will completely be replaced by AI, and other jobs where the tools will be replaced by AI, but the jobs will still be there. I think there will be new jobs that come up that we haven't even thought about, and some jobs that will become obsolete. I think translation is an interesting field, right? That is kind of highly at risk with AI. I think that oddly enough, like web design is becoming so easy to do with AI and different online tools. But I think it's really important for companies to not necessarily think about replacing people with AI. I've heard a lot of prospective clients say, we're on a hiring freeze. We're not, instead of hiring new people when we leave, we're investing that salary money into AI. I think that the people are still the most valuable part of a business, but it's important to equip them with modern tools to really be successful in their role, which of course now includes AI. So I think a company where all of the employees have power of AI in their fingertips can be far more valuable than companies focusing on replacing people with AI and automation from that perspective.
No, I totally agree. And I mean, it's going to get rid of all the old school voicemails that people you have. Press 1 for sales, 9 for, those are all going to be all on, because those will be virtual people. I actually years ago had a answering service for my business, and you wouldn't know it was an answering service because they only worked from 8 to 5, and they were called front office, and they were amazing. And that way my staff didn't have to worry about picking up the phone. The phones would be, it was a totally different, because that is the weakest link in any company, and who's answering the phones.
Yeah.
People still do that. It was the best people I ever found was the older ladies who had been retired, come back to work, and they were the best ones for that, but it's really still hard to find those. So I use this answering service, and people were like, wow, that was amazing. So and so, everybody thought they worked for me, and I always would just say, that's just my front office by the name. That was the name of the company, front office. But now with the AI that's out there right now, that's I can use now for my phones, that we answer them, but we do have that too as a backup. For the one that 3 months ago versus today one that I just set up is it is so close. Even I have to listen harder.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's all I do. I can tell the difference when I'm like, man, it's so amazing. It sounds just like a real person. I'm like, no, it doesn't. It sounds like a computer to me. I can still hear that. That one. Yeah. No, it's so close. And there's another company that has 600 different versions of that you can't even tell them some of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. And 2 years ago with image generation, you could see the extra fingers or the glazed over eyes or whatever that looked like, blended kind of blurred background, and now it requires a double take. You have to question what you see and what you hear, and I can only imagine 2 years from now it's going to be incredible.
Yeah, it's still like someone used one to make a thumbnail for one of my podcasts, and I was like, okay, use the AI on me because my skin is not that soft and not that baby fresh. You can just tell it was a different, and you got to be careful with that. It's like, I don't want you to do that. I still want the person to create the thumbnail. Yeah. I don't want AI to create it because it's not there yet. It's going to get there. Like I just came across, it's been out for a while, but Gamut AI, which is different. It uses so many other AIs, but what's nice is I dropped a newsletter thing in there, and it created this whole page for a website, like a newsletter website within seconds. Yeah. And it was so amazing. I'm like, I cannot believe that can be done. And then you can always get the code and put the code on your website, and you're done in seconds versus days. I always said what's going to do is allow people to be more productive, and maybe have a better work-life balance.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's huge. And hopefully capitalism doesn't forget that. I know it's the American corporate dream to grow revenue and grow share prices, and I hope it can evolve into a 4-day work week and firmer hours, and not having people work 24 hours a day, being always on call.
Because even like a lot of people need blogs for their website and other stuff, and people write them, and now there's such automated, there's so many things that you can automate that to where, and it's amazing stuff. And that's the thing. But I think there is still going to be complete opposite, where with stuff high price stuff, people are going to want to come into your office and see you because they want to make sure they're talking to a person and not AI. Yeah. And I still think if you're going to use AI to answer your phones, you should say, this is an AI assistant helping blah, blah, blah. So people don't think you're trying to get one over on them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a really good clarification, because there's nothing worse than banging your head against a wall when you're, on some website and it pops up a chat bubble. How can I help you? And you're getting thrown through this circular loop without being able to talk to a real person, but it's pretending like it's a real person.
Right. That's the worst. Yeah. And it is totally the worst.
Yeah. But you're like, I'm not going to work with you anymore.
That's right. Well, yeah, it was like the other day I reached out to a company. I'm a veteran, and I always want to know what people will do for vets. And I asked them, do you have a military or veteran discount? And this other one said, no, we don't. But we, if you want to come 3 days early, we'll give you a volunteer ticket. So first of all, that's not what I want. I just wanted to know. This other company said yes. But then at the same time, I got an email from somebody else in the company that offered the same price with an extra ticket with the discount code of trust. But over here, the one they said was for veterans was the same price and you didn't get anything else. So basically what you're telling me is, no, you didn't have you didn't have one, but you lied to me that you had one, which is worse. They should have just came back and said, no, we don't, but we do have this going on right now. That's all we want.
Yeah.
Be honest.
Trust is one of my favorite words, and it's a cornerstone of the book, Leading in the Age of Digital Disruption. I think trust it has always been important, but it's even more important now in today's digital age.
Yeah, because we don't know who you really are and who it's just people are so taken advantage of these days.
Yeah.
And I'm shocked that they fall for the stuff, but people do.
They do. It is shocking.
Even a friend of mine I do stuff with, he was down at the police station because they told him blah, 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 and send this money. So he went directly down there and like, oh, sir, that was all scam. It's like, because people are so worried about getting into trouble. And instead of realizing if they were really going to be, they'd be at your door coming to get you, not with the phone.
Yeah, that is the downside of AI is these scammers have become a lot more well-spoken.
Yeah. Yes, they have. All right, Mike.
It'd be pretty easy to tell when there was a prince trying to give you $20 million and a little more sophisticated.
But I just need you to send me a check for wire me some Apple cards in the meantime. Mike, thanks for coming on the show today. I really appreciate you having you on today.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate you having me.
Oh, my pleasure. What an incredible conversation with Mike Peterson. From building trust and navigating crisis to rethinking how we engage hybrid teams, Mike's insights are a must for every modern leader. If you want to dive deeper, check out his book, Leading in the Age of Digital Disruption, and visit his website at www.apexconsulting.partners. I sound like an old person instead of just saying apexconsulting.partners. If today's episode sparked a new idea or reminded you of your own Edison moment, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with a fellow inventor or leader in your life. And remember, just like Edison, it's not about how many times you fell, it's about how many times you're willing to try again. Until next time, keep innovating from the inside out.